Welcome to the Fit as Flock podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Bush. I'm a mindset, fitness, and nutrition coach helping women train their bodies, train their minds, and in turn transform their lives. Today, I want to address an issue that I commonly see my peeps struggling with. Chances are you might struggle with it as well, and that is protein consumption. So what I want to share with you today is why it's so important and my top tips on how to increase protein in a practical, sustainable way. And I hope that you can take away some things from this that you can apply to your own health, wellness, fitness, weight loss journey, whatever goals you are working towards. So with that, let's dive right in. Let's talk about why it is so important to prioritize protein consumption. So every cell in the human body contains protein. The basic structure of protein is a chain of amino acids. So you need protein in your diet to help your body repair cells as well as make new ones. Protein also helps you build and maintain muscle. So the more muscle that you have on your body, the more calories that you burn at rest. Muscle costs more to maintain than fat. Protein also helps keep you fuller longer and has a high thermogenic effect. What that means is it costs our bodies more calories to break down protein by digestion. So that's what that means. You're going to burn more calories as you are trying to digest protein than if you are trying to digest carbs or fats. So we already know protein is super important, and every time I talk about the importance of protein or I work with my clients on increasing their protein, they struggle because protein can be hard to get in. So you tend to think you're eating more of it than you really are. And then when you start to track it, it becomes glaringly obvious that somehow you need to increase this important macronutrient. So I want to share with you practical tips. So I'm not about this life of doing things that are super difficult or spending hours in the kitchen. I need things I can do every single day that are easy to apply to my own journey. These are tips that I use myself personally and that I have been able to sustain for years now because they're practical. So if you're looking for some crazy quick fix trickery, you might as well just log off now because I am not your girl. So let's dive into some of my top tips. So if you are in a weight loss phase or trying to be in a calorie deficit, one of the things that's really important when selecting your protein sources is to consider a higher protein to fat ratio. So when you're looking at that nutrition label, you are looking, how many grams of protein does this have compared to how many grams of fat. This is important when you're trying to be in a calorie deficit because there are 4 calories per gram of protein and there are 9 calories per gram of fat. So grams of fat add up really quickly, taking up a good portion of your overall calorie budget. Carbs, just as an FYI, are also 4 calories per gram. So you can start to see how that adds up quickly. This by no means is me telling you that you should totally avoid dietary fat. In fact, it's a very, very important fuel source for our bodies, for our brains, for our hormones. But keeping an eye on it when you are in a weight loss mode particularly is key. So just like anything else, when you're in a caloric deficit, what gets measured gets managed. That's really what I mean to say there is that it can eat up your budget quick. Not saying that you shouldn't eat it, but eyes wide open, just having a level of awareness is going to be really helpful. So think of it like this. When you consume ground beef, for example, the fat content can range, right? So depending on the cut of the beef, the fat content is much higher than, say, if you were to do ground turkey, ground chicken, chicken breast, things like that. So you have to kind of weigh what does the rest of your day look like, etc. This is my favorite tip because it's the easiest, and those that know me know I am path of least resistance when it comes to these things. So if you need more protein, simply serve yourself larger portions of the protein you're already consuming. Instead of trying to go out there and find all these different protein sources and spend all this money, consider instead of giving yourself 4 ounces of chicken, increase it to 6. Instead of doing a serving of cottage cheese, which I think is right around 113 grams, do 180, 190, 200 grams. that's going to be a really easy, low-hanging fruit way to increase your protein without a lot of effort. Now, I will say one of the things that I hear quite a bit is when I try to increase my protein, I get full so much faster, right? We talked about that at the beginning. Protein helps keep you fuller longer. That part of that is because it takes us a while to digest it, to break it down. So if you find that as you are focusing on your protein, that it is becoming difficult for you to consume adequate calories or consume an adequate amount of protein based on whatever your macronutrient goals are, I just urge you not to stress out about it. Understand that just like with anything, your body will adjust. You don't want to push it and make yourself miserable, but slow and steady is going to win the race by slowly increasing and listening to your body as you're eating. That's going to be the best game plan. So what I like to tell my clients is, in terms of listening to your hunger and fullness cues are something that I personally struggle with. One just kind of rule of thumb that I really like to keep in mind is during any point of a meal or snack, you should be able to push away from the table and comfortably go for a light jog. Now, I'm not talking about like going out and sprinting or going out for some long run. But for me, that helps my brain kind of go, okay, I know that feeling. I can visualize that feeling. I know what that feels like within my body. And we all know what that feels like when you're done eating and you're so miserable that you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to go lay down. So I don't want to encourage people to ignore that, right? So if you're looking, and what made me think of this in particular is the 4 ounces compared to 6 ounces of chicken. You will think of me probably next time you go to weigh out your chicken and you're used to seeing 4 ounces and then you increase it to 6. You're gonna be like, holy crap, that is a lot. The one that always gets me in particular is shrimp. I'll be working on the serving and I'll always be trying to like increase beyond what it says on the nutrition label. The nutrition label probably says like 3 to 4 ounces is a serving, and it's only 80 calories per serving. So when you double that, you start to go, holy crap, that is a lot. And I can absolutely empathize with getting full on that quickly. So just know, don't stress about it. Listen to your body. You will adjust over time. Oftentimes I see clients, I give them a protein target and they get so stressed about hitting it. And yes, we want to try. We want to work towards that goal. But again, it's progress, not perfection. We want to focus on being 1% better than we were the day before versus like, I'm going to stress myself out, make myself miserable, et cetera, to hit this number. When really, if you can just create some awareness around what you're consuming, how you're consuming it, and how can you better balance it, it's going to work out in the long run. So if you are working towards a protein goal that seems very daunting, try not to allow yourself to get super overwhelmed by it. And I say that with lots of empathy because I'm a type A person. I'm like, you give me a task or a number and you tell me to hit it, I'm going to go try to do that, right? But this is just a friendly reminder with anything that we're doing, focusing on progress versus being perfect and hitting that number. It's going to get you to your goals if you keep doing that over time. The other thing that is super helpful is to focus on spreading your protein consumption throughout the day. So if you can attempt and really focus on how can I build my meals to contain 30 to 40 grams of protein, so 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, and 12 to 20 grams of protein at each snack, it's gonna make getting your protein in way easier. Where this gets tricky is if that first meal of the day is not protein heavy, then you're spending the rest of the day trying to play catch up. So it's really important to, log into an app like MyFitnessPal or whatever tracker you like to use and figure out what do you typically eat for your first meal, put it in there and see is that where you need to be? Is it 30 to 40 grams? If not, how can you beef that up? Can you do it by, simply serving yourself a larger portion like I mentioned previously? By spreading it out, it's going to make it a lot less stressful. It's really difficult when you get to the end of the day and it's like, it's going on being done eating for the day and you're like, oh crap, I've only eaten 75 grams of protein. How am I going to get some more in? Well, You know, I hate when I feel bad when people ask me like, oh, I'm here and I need to get more protein. What should I eat? And I'm like, well, number one, I don't know what's in your pantry. And number two, go on a chicken breast, I guess. It's not really easy because invariably what also happens is they run out of calories, right? So that can be avoided by simply spreading your protein consumption out. And getting creative. Where can you add protein-dense items to foods that you're already eating? So where can you make swaps? So think of cottage cheese. Think of Greek yogurt, for example. Where could you use liquid egg whites? Some thoughts that come to mind with those specifically. Oftentimes when I'm cooking, if the dish would, like if I want it to be creamy, for example, you can use an immersion blender to blend up some cottage cheese and add that into sauces or soups, for example. I like to use Greek yogurt in protein oats. It makes it nice and creamy. I also like to use it for sour cream. So instead of using sour cream, I use Greek yogurt. Now, if I'm using Greek yogurt for protein oats, I do use vanilla. But if you're using it for sour cream, you don't want to use vanilla. Just the regular old plain Greek yogurt is the way to go for that. When I first was going to try that, I was like, this is going to be gross. I don't want to do this. This is not going to taste good. Take it from me, it tastes almost identical to sour cream. So I've tried it, I've tested it. It is not like, don't let it freak you out because it's a really easy way to sneak some additional protein in. Liquid egg whites is another really good one. So let's say that you want to have some scrambled eggs or you want to have eggs for one of your meals. I like real whole eggs, absolutely, but they have a higher fat to protein ratio. So you could beef the protein up by adding liquid egg whites, for example. You could also whisk in some cottage cheese for scrambled eggs. Those are some great ways to kind of add in some additional protein. Of course, adding supplements in along the way is going to help you. I personally try to consume as much of my protein from natural food sources as I can, but I will say that on average, I will most days need some type of protein supplementation. When I say protein supplementation, what I mean by that is a protein powder, a pre-made protein shake, or a protein bar, but I try to really minimize those to one per day. Now, sometimes when I'm traveling or I'm on vacation or I need something super quick, that becomes more than one, but I really like to try to keep it to one for me specifically. So I hope you found that helpful. So quick review. Number one, a really good protein target for the average adult, and this is really a minimum number of about 120 grams is going to be a good number for your average adult. Unless you are, under about 120 pounds, 120 is a really good minimum number. So be thinking about that as you're kind of tallying your daily protein. So look for higher protein to fat ratio when you are selecting the types of protein that you're eating, specifically if you are in a weight loss mode. Simply serve yourself larger portions of the protein you're already consuming. You see this big honking smile on my face because that's the one I personally do most often. And then spreading your protein consumption out throughout the day, that's been a game changer for me. All I needed to do was really sit down and look at the meals I was already consuming and see where do I need to add, where do I need to take away. And that's really gonna help cut down on some of the anxiety and overwhelm that can happen when you have what you feel like is this big protein number. How are you gonna get it all in? Spread it throughout the day, makes it a whole lot easier. And getting creative with your protein-dense foods, adding them to meals that you are already creating and making high protein swaps. So to me, when I think about that, the top things that come to mind are cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and liquid egg whites. I know that there are other ones, but those are the ones that are top of mind for me. So I hope that maybe you took something away from this that's going to help you get closer to your protein goal. Just remember, if you are aiming for a number that feels high, feels unattainable, simply focus on doing a little bit better every single day versus getting frustrated with yourself for not hitting that number dead on. I don't believe that perfection is required by any stretch of the imagination. So try not to get too hung up on it. If you found this helpful, please share it with a friend that is also working on their protein goals, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.